Boys, girls, ladies, gentlemen, ducks, snakes, shoe salesmen, used car salesmen, everybody else who's listening, and everyone who is hearing. This is the Pass the Bag podcast, coming to you live and direct. It is not enough for you to get that bag. You got to know how to keep it. And if you want to keep that bag, you must share the bag. So kindly pass the bag. Indeed, that gentleman there, he is the one, the only Adrian Darrell Blackstock, a.black, a.black DJ.
Yeah.
I'm known by several names. The government knows me as Robert Edward Patterson II. I want to give a shout out to my father and my mother. Nice. They did a good job of naming me. Mr. P from the 313, and a couple other names, Bobby Pens. Listen, folks, we just got done talking about the bag of tricks, toxic spirituality, part 1. We want to get into the bag of tricks, part 2. Oh, I'm sorry, we just got done talking about toxic positivity, and now we're getting into part 2, which is toxic spirituality. Have you heard of this, sir?
No. Again, another one that's new on my radar. But what is it? Please explain to the people. The people want to know.
Well, toxic spirituality. I'm just going to use my own definition. These layman's terms, so we can talk the language of the layman. Big shout out to our listeners. We want to be able to touch the common folk, the academics, the illiterates. We want to be able to reach everybody. Toxic spirituality is, spirituality that is really negative, having negative effects, having detrimental effects to a person's health, or that is harming other people or the environment under the guise of this spirituality that is toxic and that is holy and it's just it's almost like a con game, the toxic spirituality, very much like a con game. Oh, I'm so spiritual and this is happening. We see it a lot, really, with leaders of religious organizations. That's the best example, the most accessible example of toxic spirituality happens, with these gurus and these,
I am very triggered right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Toxic spirituality. It's important to address. So back when I was growing up, I'm gonna tell you straight up. When I was growing up, the Gauda Vaishnavas, the Hare Krishnas, they had a really bad reputation. There was a lot of scandals that had taken place. Some children had been abused, some people's money had been taken, and there was always this language about Jim Jones and the Kool-Aid and these cults, right? And so This is a different time now. Toxic spirituality manifests differently, and it masquerades as self-help gurus. It masquerades as, you even see it with the, not just with the self-help gurus, but you see it with the, what is it, like the beauty type of industries, or all these industries that are telling people that they're going to be tuning up their spirit, or these types of interactions where people are telling people that they're tuning up their spirit, but there's really something predatory and some exploitation going down, and something that is nefarious going down, and the idea that that the spirituality has to be this way or that way, to another person's detriment. So this toxic spirituality is near and dear to me. But you said you're triggered. I want to hear a little bit about you before I get into a personal story and talk a little bit about this article.
Bro, like just looking at the article. So we linked the article below, so please read it if you want to see what we're talking about. But you are 100% responsible for your own circumstances. These are some of the toxic spirituality beliefs according to this article, Medium article. The ego is an enemy that needs to be eliminated. Reacting with anger is a sign you need to do more work. Meditation is a purely beneficial experience. Control your thoughts to manifest your reality. Rising above your emotions is a sign of spiritual maturity. I would agree with most of those statements. Okay, let's start with number one. You're 100% responsible for your own circumstances. Uh,
Yeah, it's just
I
not
don't think
true.
I don't think you're 100%. That part, okay, 100% responsible. I mean, we are social beings. Like other people's decisions do affect us. So I feel like there is some there is some leeway to be given there for like percentage wise. Like it's not 100%, but I do think choices play a big role in how your life shapes out. So I agree, but I disagree on that one. The ego is an enemy that needs to be eliminated. There's nothing wrong with loving yourself, wanting good things for yourself, believing in yourself, speaking about yourself. So and it's basically saying in the article that being encouraged to pit yourself against another part of yourself and overpower it can be harmful. And that makes sense. That makes sense. But I don't know. I think sometimes in a lot of ways we run from conflict, and I think I don't know if that's a great thing either. Reacting with anger is a sign you need to do more work. I 100% agree with
Well,
that.
well, hold on.
100%.
Let's pause for a second on the last one.
All right. Cool.
I feel like the idea that that there's conflict, or the fight or flight thing, I think is what came to mind. And listening to you, fight or flight is part of the human makeup. It's part of this in our DNA, fight or flight. So
Yeah.
running from a fight internally or externally, right? Or choosing, to have conflict with, a part of oneself. It feels natural. And I think that the idea that the ego is something that needs to be wrestled into submission is super harmful, right? We need our ego, because humble pie is a dish best served often and early. And
Right.
generally it's our ego that helps us to get into situations where we get our medicine, which is that humble pie.
Right.
Mm. Anyway, so reacting
We agree on that for sure.
right on, bro. Right on. Reacting with
So,
anger is a sign that you need to quote do more work, end quote.
what are your
Mm.
thoughts on that?
Well, I think that that is extremely harmful because it puts anger in a place where anger is inappropriate or something like that. I feel like anger itself is just like joy or just like grief or something like that. Anger is a primary emotion. So I think the management of the anger is more important than the present of the anger itself. And people telling us or us getting messages that us being angry is a sign that we need to do more work or that we haven't reached a certain level is really, really manipulative in a negative way, bro. That's how I look at it.
I yes, agreed. Now, depending on how you get angry, but then I subscribe to the belief of like righteous anger versus other types of anger. Um,
What is righteous anger?
uh, I would say righteous anger, in my definition, would be anger that is justified because it's from the intention of reducing harm to others or to yourself.
See, I love what you're saying because uh, I don't agree with it, but I feel like it's a great opportunity for us to be able to, like, hey, let's go. Anger doesn't need to be justified. We don't need justifications. Nobody needs justification for their anger, just like nobody needs justification for their sadness or something like that.
But agreed. But it says reacting with anger. Let's talk about the reaction. An angry reaction doesn't need to be
Uh,
justified. That part, the
I
reaction
hear
needs to
you.
be justified.
I hear you.
Like, yeah, of
Reacting.
course, everybody feels anger. Like everybody gets angry.
Mm,
Everybody gets sad. Everybody experiences these like human emotions, and that's what makes us
sure.
human in a lot of ways. But how you
Sure.
react, how you react. to others, I mean, how do you react? I mean, in public, in private, like you get upset with your wife and then you start beating on her. Like that's not,
That's not
you
good.
know, that's not
That's not
good.
good.
I mean, that is a sign
How
that you need to do work. I do believe that. Like if you react with
sure,
anger, it is a
sure.
sign that you're not okay with your anger. You're not okay with your ability to deal with your anger. Do I think I'm not gonna go to toxic positivity route and say, like you shouldn't have to, you should just disregard all anger. No, I'm not saying that. But I am saying is that there's right action. Like you can be angry, but how do you respond?
Yeah, I feel like we're right there with the management of said primary emotion, anger. It seems to me like the way that this is written may be problematic, even reacting versus responsive, right? The idea of responding versus reacting. Reacting with anger seems almost as if to say channeling one's anger into something where it's inappropriate to channel it into. Is a sign that one needs to do more work. And if that's the case, I would have to say that I would agree with that. I don't feel, though, that is some sort of indicator of a person's spirituality, though. I feel like
Right.
that's uh, problematic in a lot of ways to especially have another person to be measuring someone else's spirituality like that. Even that to me seems very fugazi. That's what I would say about that type of activity. Meditation is
So the
purely.
articles, hold on, let me say this 1 sec. They say feeling
Hey,
anger
go
is
for
not
it.
harmful. Feeling anger is not harmful. Neither is sharing that we feel it. It may make someone feel uncomfortable, but that doesn't make it wrong. We should remain curious about our anger. Anger, especially in the face of injustice, unlocks our empathy. I 100% agree with that.
I think it's beautiful.
It's just the title is what threw me off because reacting with anger, like feeling anger is okay, sharing that you're angry is okay. Um, like getting to know your anger, becoming angry in the face of injustice, like that is, I'm totally cool with that. But do I think that gives you a right to like loot a target, or like smash a window, smash private property? No, I mean I don't 100% agree with that. But there's a time and a place for everything. So let's get into the next one. Like you
Absolutely.
said, meditation is a purely beneficial experience.
Meh.
Don't agree with that one. That one I definitely don't agree with.
Well,
Like
let's.
I've experienced a lot of anger due to my inability to meditate properly.
mm,
What do you
let's
think?
go off menu for a second, sir. I want to go off
Yeah,
menu.
let's do
I'll
it.
tell you something. So recently, there's a guy who, was near and dear to me for a lot of years. He was like a brother to me growing up, even though we're not related. Who this is a person that at times I would confront him for being a con artist, for
Mm-hmm.
being the type of person who was taking advantage of people, who was rocking people to sleep, particularly um, women who would have certain vulnerabilities, or if he could play some guy into a certain type of situation too, to have control or to have leverage, he would do it. And it would often come through things like talk of, pseudo mysticism, zodiac signs, and or systems of divination and things like this. And, all of these quote spiritual tools, end quote, would all end up being tools for this person to get what it is that they wanted. Now, part of the reason why I'm bringing this up, okay, because one article is about spiritual narcissism. Part of the reason why I'm bringing it up is because there are lots of people who, and this guy he was a great example. I learned a crazy lesson from him recently. Uh, some people, they burn incense and they talk a certain way, and they uh, present themselves as authorities, and make sure that they're bringing up certain topics of conversation that are associated with spirituality and whatnot. And then they turn around and have an Instagram page where they are, quote, massaging, end quote, women and showing that they have massage therapy tables in their homes to do this, quote, healing work, end quote, and put up videos that are, pretty sleazy and tasteless, and even go as far as to make websites where they're calling themselves massage therapists. Now, I don't know if you noticed, Adrian Black, but there's only 7 states in the United States where you can practice massage therapy without a license. And the state of Michigan, where this took place, is not one of them. This is the equivalent of having women come to your office as an OBGYN and you don't have a license to practice. To make matters worse, this is something that I know for a fact that this person was well educated about because they have a teaching license. So they're familiar with the licensure process, and us growing up together and me having a massage therapy license in the state of Michigan. Let me just say I was appalled. I was absolutely disgusted. Contacted the person, told them, to take it down, let them know that next time I would be the person to report them versus the person to put them in check. And it was really, really that type of a situation where I looked at this type of toxic spirituality, because this is someone who is in people's ear talking to them about ways to raise their energy and their vibrations and connection and all of the rest of that, pretty much just so he can lube up gals and rub them down. Yeah, that's a example that just happened to me just recently in my real life. Mhm.
Wow. So where so I'm having trouble drawing the connection though.
Well, it goes like this.
Okay, I think I get it. I think I get it. He's like, go ahead.
Yeah.
Please do it.
Well. So what happens is when people are manipulated, they're manipulated about practices that are addressing their spiritual hygiene. Okay,
Right.
Toxic spirituality in general is about manipulative narratives of spiritual hygiene. You dig?
Yeah, got it.
So I'm going to lay these hands on you, and you're going to be
It's
able to
like the
feel
prayer
this
cloth.
energy. Excuse me, say again.
Like the prayer cloth.
Like a prayer cloth. Maybe. I don't know. Well, let's see what the people at home think.
The
This has
people
been the
got to let us
bag of
know.
tricks.
I
Anything else you want?
wanna keep going with this. This is great. I mean, I'm down to just cut out one of my topics just to keep going with this because this is amazing. Uh, so let's go to the next one on this. If you cool with that, because I would love
Let's
to.
do it. Let's do it.
Control your thoughts to manifest your reality. Wow. Control your thoughts to manifest your reality. Manifest is a triggering word for me. Because I'm conflicted about it. What's your idea? What's your thoughts on manifesting?
Uh, well, I can't say that. I can't say that. I feel like it's a slippery slope, and here's why I feel like it's a slippery slope. I used to have like a lot of nightmares and a lot of night terrors, and I had to learn to meditate myself out of that situation when I was a child. Okay, and so meditating myself out of that situation specifically by saying prayers where I would talk about what it was that I was going to do when these things would happen in my sleep. In a dream journal, keeping a dream journal, talking about what happened the night before, talking about what was going to happen the next night, and eventually working myself into a place where I was fully lucid and I could sleep peacefully, where once upon a time I couldn't sleep peacefully, right? So that is a matter of manifestation, and even certain things that I'm doing in life at the moment, being in peaceful places, being a person who is, arguably a disabled individual who's living a high quality of life, making things happen. These are all, things that have been manifested. Um, Not to say that those spaces were not already there. I feel like the manifestation is really just moving me or anyone into those spaces that already exist versus, it's like finding a current in the ocean. So it's not like we create the current is there, and then we just manifest riding the current. These are some of my first thoughts about it. But I do think that there are certain narratives around manifestation that are absolutely no good. How about you?
I think when it's attached to destiny, and when it's attached to this is yours by right, but not by works. That's used, that's been, the basis for so many conflicts. Like, we deserve this land by right. You think about so many conflicts that are happening right now to this day, based on, what a certain country, a certain government, a certain person's ideas of what they should own, because it's their destiny to manifest it. Like, they should own it because they believe they should. Even though, it may currently belong to someone else, based on the systems that are in place nowadays. But
yeah, manifest destiny is a great example.
Right. of how the narratives around manifesting can be toxic by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And can lead to war and devastation and disease and all types of things.
100%. 100%. How about rising above your emotions is a sign of spiritual maturity?
Why don't you go first?
Well, rising above your emotions. It's the idea that emotions are something to be risen above again. If we're put here to be human and emotions are part of human nature, then
right.
What are we doing? What are we doing? Why should we want to, transcend our nature? If anything, I don't want to say should, but I would say the better route, maybe the best route is to, be in tune with your nature rather than to attempt to shed it. But again, these are types of, I don't know, hopefully some, enough people are listening to this to be able to tune in to be able to share their own experiences. And I even think that I think that one of the ways that we see this, it happens even if you think about biblically. For those people who are familiar with the church, I think for a good piece of the demographic who might listen to this, they might be churchgoers, and you get told messages about, your desires. Well, desire is a thing, so it's going to be there. You have desires for a reason. Rising above your desires. How do we define rising above them? Acknowledging them, making good decisions in the face of them, not letting them lead us astray. That's one thing, but eliminating them altogether. I think that those sorts of narratives, and we hear them a lot in terms of, I don't know how much experience you have, Adrian, with people talking about people who've become enlightened or enlightened people because of whatever their practice, where they're giving up all of these things, giving up desire, and then they become enlightened. And just that idea. I feel like it can be very dangerous.
Facts. But that I agree with. I agree that it's dangerous. I would exchange rising above to completely understanding.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would say understanding your emotions is a superpower. Like the ability to even foresee emotions on the rise, based on certain stimuli, to be so tapped in, so tuned in to who you are what you've experienced and where you want to go, that you can darn near see your emotions on the horizon, like ride the waves, but like, just like a expert surfer, be able to like see the waves coming, like
Mm,
based on the environment, based on like, all right, where was the moon last night? Where's the sun? Like, all right, where are these waves breaking? What's under this water? Like, what's the current? I mean, what's the currents around here? Like, what's the wind right now? Like, understanding all of those things, spiritually, emotionally, physically, about who you are, what you've experienced, where you are, and where you want to go, to be able to like ride them joints, just because you just have all that knowledge and you tapped in like that, like an expert surfer, you know. That's what I mean by completely understanding your emotions is a sign of spiritual maturity. Like somebody that can do that, I feel like they're a superhero.
I I'm rocking with you here. Um, you there?
Yeah, 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 I'm with you. I'm listening.
Okay. I'm rocking with you here. Understanding your emotions is like being a superhero. I really enjoy that statement. I feel like also because I feel like acceptance is important too. So as a human being, our experience is meant to be that we are experiencing limited knowledge more than we are complete knowledge. And of course, knowledge itself is the best type of knowledge that one can cultivate, if you ask me. So understanding one's own condition, emotional condition, mental, spiritual, sexual, intuitive condition is always the best thing. And even then,
Right.
there comes a point where understanding is best to yield to acceptance, because limited understanding is part of is part of the it's part of the experience. Mhm.
Yeah, bro.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just sick of seeing people get taken advantage of, and also know that if people are not asking me, then I'm not telling them a lot of times. So just being in an environment where,
Woo.
um, say what now?
Nah, that was a bar, bro. That was a bar.
So you're being in these experiences where there are people like my friend who, or the guy who I grew up with, let's say that, who was practicing without a license, and being in a place where there's a whole lot of these type of people who are doing whatever they're doing, and they don't have anyone to check them. There's no regulatory bodies, and you know, yeah. I just there's a lot of toxic spirituality in the world, and I think that makes the world a better place for us to all talk about it. Let's pass that bag, ladies and gentlemen. Pass it on. Pass this podcast on.
What do you
Share it with a
think?
friend.
Let us know. Keep us posted. Like, are you tuned in like that on your emotions? Like, what do you think about toxic positivity, toxic spirituality, um, just toxicity in general? What do you think? Like, we would love to know. Like, we want to be in the know.
Absolutely. It's the Pass the Bag podcast. Has been the Bag of Tricks, part one, part two.